This is so much fun. I can't. Today, this episode of the show, I reconnect with Convo by Design Icon Registry inductee Kyle Bunting for an open, wide-ranging conversation about personal transition, business philosophy, and industry evolution. We look back at our popular Kyle Bunting and Friends podcast micro-series here on Convo by Design before delving into the core values that have defined Kyle's career. He emphasizes a service-first approach inspired by his small business upbringing, summarized by the unforgettable advice from an early mentor of his: never run a deficit in the favor bank. And it's true. Finally, Kyle reveals how his brand elegantly, and it did elegantly navigate, my word, not his, sudden tariff changes by doubling down on customer commitment, ultimately driving the evolution of Kyle Bunting from a specialized luxury Hyde company into a diversified design powerhouse spanning wool, silk, wall coverings, and commercial hospitality. That idea, though, of the favor bank philosophy, a core tenet of Kyle's business is building genuine frictionless relationships by prioritizing the designer's timeline and vision over the transaction. The brand builds deep relational equity that sustains it through industry downturns. And listen, by the way, I'm one of those beneficiaries. I'm not a designer, but I am a beneficiary of his favor bank philosophy. I think I owe Kyle at this point that Kyle Bunting and Friends micro-series that we did with Jan Showers and Fern Santini and Lauren Rote, and gosh, just so much fun. And Timothy Corrigan. That was so much fun hearing Kyle talk with his designer friends at the highest levels and hear what they say about him and his product. How about weathering macroeconomic storms instead of implementing aggressive price hikes like everyone else in the industry is doing, or sending passive-aggressive emails during recent tariff rollouts, or the occasional, which isn't so occasional anymore, fuel surcharges when things get crazy. Kyle extended incentives on their new product launches, capturing a 75% higher sales volume than anticipated by absorbing risks alongside their clients. That's the thing. That's the secret sauce that I want you to listen for in this conversation with Kyle. You know, he also talks about combating dupe culture, which is a thing, and the evolution of materiality, which is why he makes choices to evolve his business and change along with the business of the specifiers for whom he serves. It's amazing, and I love this conversation, and I hope you do too. And you're going to hear about all of it right after this. At the highest level of design, the absolute best specifying designers, architects, landscape designers are all highly focused on the technology and performance of products and materials today. You have to, because the products you specify for your projects have to perform and they have to last. That's one of the reasons why I am so proud to be working with TimberTech. Their focus on the technical renaissance of synthetic decking is literally changing the conversation about innovation and performance. It pulls focus on three priorities homeowners have and expect from the products their designers and architects specify for their luxury projects. 1, aesthetics must match the overall design and fit visually. 2, durability and maintenance. I've told you about my board flipping stories from my own wood decks. Clients not only want beauty, but they want ease of use, and they want it to last for decades. 3, sustainably made. Clients are more conscious of the environment now, and they want the same of their materials. TimberTech hits each one of these elements with a product that not only meets expectations, they exceed them. TimberTech makes a synthetic decking that looks just like wood, color and embossed wood grain for a natural appearance. Their composite decking is technologically superior. as it has been created to last for decades, and it's manufactured with up to 85% recycled material. Their advanced PVC vintage and landmark collections have a Class A flame spread rating, making these products an amazing choice for wildfire prone areas, which unfortunately continues to grow on the risk map. Check the show notes for more information about this and to find the nearest showroom or lumberyard where you can find TimberTech, or you can check them out directly, timbertech.com. This is my favorite part, by the way, of having conversations like this. Like, you and I have not spoken in a while, and you're like, how long have you been in Tulsa? Dude, I've been in Tulsa almost 5 years.
Oh wow, that's incredible. Well, congratulations. I just did some work up there. You're in a nice place.
Why didn't you stop by?
Well, I mean, I didn't actually go. I mean, it's Tulsa after all. Kidding. No, Tulsa's amazing. No, but we one of our our brand partnerships is with Tecovas, and they opened a new location up there, and we did a mural for the store, and they were sending me some photography on it, and so it's kind of like hot on my list of things to do. And just to prove that I love Oklahoma, I'm actually spending this weekend in Oklahoma City. So all Tulsa jokes aside, I'm a fan.
Um, the Tecovas store, where is it? It's in Tulsa. I'll find it.
It's in Tulsa.
I'm gonna go see it. I'm excited. I can't wait to go see your
Oh,
stuff.
it's gonna be great. You'll get a kick out of it, and I think appreciate it. I'm kind of proud of uh, uh, that particular store because they have sometimes done our murals and put like displays in front of them and used them as backdrops. But on this one, they actually moved the display and they said we can't cover this one up. It's too cool, which was kind of a I felt like they took baby out of the corner, so to speak, and I don't know.
I
It was
love that.
kind of a cool thing.
I love that. Well, first of all, I would be remiss if I did not welcome royalty into the studio today. Kyle, every time I get a chance, yes, you, every time I get a chance to speak to a Convo by Design Icon Registry inductee, it's very
Mm.
special. And there have been only a handful of those that have been inducted. We've been doing it for 3 years now that have come back on the show so far. So I'm so excited to reconnect with you.
Well, look, you're a trailblazer on this, and this is always a charming conversation. All those overly generous platitudes aside, it's good to see you again, and it's good to kind of maybe, hopefully today, catch up a little bit on the where, when, what have you, where you've been kind of thing. It's always really, really a treat. So let me have it. Take me there.
Yes, so I'm in Tulsa now.
Mhm.
Been here for going on 5 years. We
Okay.
moved, we moved in the heart of the pandemic, 21, 22. I can't even remember when exactly we did move, but
Okay.
the pandemic was full speed. And
Okay.
it was it was a really interesting move
Yep.
for us to go from Manhattan Beach, California to Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a
Not
it's a
both
bit
nice places to live in very different ways.
it's a bit different. It's a bit
Yeah.
different. I got to experience wind events.
You mean, yeah, you mean you might have seen a tempest?
Oh, dude, let me tell you, 2023,
Hmm.
the night before Father's Day, about midnight, the tornado sirens,
June can be a stormy time of year.
the tornado sirens go off. And my
Mhm.
wife and I are like, what's that? I don't know. Let's just go. Should we go back to, let's just go back to bed. Well, we woke up in the morning
Uh-huh.
and overnight, we had a derecho. Have you ever been through one of those?
No, is it
Do
like a
you,
sandstorm? What is that?
a derecho is a
A haboom?
straight line wind event.
No, that one's a new one to me.
20 miles wide, 100 miles, between 90 and 100 miles an hour sustained for 20 minutes.
Oh, so interesting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Straight line.
Wow.
So it came
Hmm.
from one direction and we walked outside and it was dystopian. We lost We lost a 50-year-old, 35-foot high white oak that was in our front yard. And it's funny, I've been turning it. I've been woodworking with it since 2023, but it was thousands of trees. We were without power for a week. I mean, it was not good.
That's that happens every couple of years. Get over it.
Let me just say that the tree guys were out the following week and we should be okay.
The arborist.
The arborist. We actually did go have an arborist come out
Yeah, there's two
because
kinds of guys that'll do trees. There's the
yeah.
arborist and there's a guy with a pickup truck and a saw. The tree guy is a pickup truck and a saw. The arborist, he's the same guy. He just charges a whole lot more, and he might have gone to college for a semester. Might have.
It's not the same guy. It's the difference between an interior designer and your cousin Vicky.
Yeah, and there's, it's a funny thing about this. I want to say something about this experience you just had, and because I think it's about maybe an insight into bicoastal living. We Texans sometimes like to call ourselves the third coast. And it's usually kind of something that related to like the film business, like you could film in Texas or in Los Angeles or in New York. And I've kind of noticed I've been in this game for a long time, and everybody everywhere is awesome. Like, what a treat to work in this business and be connected to the people that are in it. And everybody, whether in Manhattan Beach or Manhattan or in Paris, Texas, are all just amazing people to work with. But like they have their own little versions of local genuineness that are like the spice of life and the flavor on it. And I kind of would turn it around a little bit on you, like what what has been your experience from like God, I left Manhattan Beach, California. I lived in Southern California, and now I'm in Tulsa. I'm like, what are you picking up on? Is it what's the thing? Is it like, oh God, the dreaded hinterlands? Is it as bad as everybody made you believe it was, or what has been your experience?
You know what? Thanks for asking. Nobody ever asks me any questions. And I love that about you, that you are actually so curious and you care, and I appreciate that. It's been it's been nothing short of remarkable. And keep in mind though that I've lived in Washington State because I went to college there. I've lived in Dallas
You're a husky?
for 9 years. No, I'm a cougar.
You are.
I'm the other
Ah,
one.
all right, you're that other guy. All
I'm
right.
the other guy. But I lived in Dallas, 2 tours, 9 years.
Okay.
Lived in South Florida, so I've been around a little bit. Um,
Sure.
Loved living in Dallas. Also because the regional guy for a radio group. So I got down to Austin once a month. I got to San Antonio once a month. I got to Houston once a month. So I got to really travel around the state. I love
Okay.
the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Um, it's been interesting. Love Manhattan Beach, but
Yeah.
it's not Los Angeles is not the Los Angeles where I grew up.
Yeah. It's changed a lot. And
It
Manhattan
has.
Beach might be, I mean, now it's kind of like, Disneyland or Miami. It's like, it's not real. I mean, it's real. It's got great people and normal, but it's like this bubble of like, what happened?
Do you know when it stopped being real? For us, I can tell you exactly when it happened. It was when Zoe Deschanel moved into the neighborhood.
That's not fair. Be nice to her.
No,
Yeah.
she's very nice, but with her, like it's funny because Landon Donovan lived down the street from us.
Okay.
And he was always low key. He was playing for LA Galaxy at the time. He was always like super low key US men's national team, but he was never about all that.
Mhm.
Zoe's great, but the problem was that with her came the paparazzi. So
Uh,
we would have guys like because then she had her baby and she would walk the baby around and we had guys like sleeping on the street. The TMZ guys would be walking down our street.
you know what? You should have rented tent space in your front yard. You could have profited from that. I'm kind of astounded you weren't thinking that way about it and embracing the opportunity. Come on, Josh.
No, it was horrible. It wasn't horrible. I should take that
You're
back. But it
blaming
was
Manhattan Beach becoming a different place on one person. That's
no
just
no no
your
no
ex
no.
that's just your experience.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point, but it's a broader subject. You know what it is? It's the changing nature of migratory patterns in the US right now. The moment something like I can tell you,
Mm.
Tulsa got popular when
Oh,
when
yeah, yeah.
Tulsa Remote first started, especially during the pandemic.
Sure.
All these people came to Tulsa,
Sure.
and
Yep.
they're still coming.
Mhm.
And it's okay now. There's still no traffic. I mean, don't come to Tulsa. Don't come to
We got
Tulsa.
the Tulsa King too. I
We're
mean, that's
fine.
a big deal. Everybody's like, that looks like a cool place to go. I can like be a gangster and have like a bar and walk around in a suit and have a driver.
You got Tulsa King. You also got the Lowdown. That's the Ethan Hawke show.
Yeah.
Killers of the
Look,
Flower Moon was shot here.
Tulsa's a
Yeah,
great place.
yeah, yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting is it created two for me personally and professionally. It created a couple of things. It is very uncomplicated here. It's what Austin was in the '90s.
Yeah.
It feels
Yeah.
that way.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Soak it
And
up.
I know, I know,
The
I know.
change, she is a coming.
Dude, speaking of change, and I'm shifting gears on you a little bit. In getting ready for our conversation, I was thinking back to the last time you and I, it's not the last time we spoke, but it's the last time you were on the show. And it was our little micro series that we did, Kyle Bunting and Friends. Man, I loved that series so much. The last
Yeah,
one
that was
was
a lot of
with
fun.
it was you had Jan Showers come on with Fern Santini, and was there a third?
Lauren Rote.
Laura, yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh, man, that was so much fun.
It was a band of like Texas-based female design gangsters.
It was a hit squad. It really
Yeah,
was.
I mean, it really was. I was like, I kind of thought about that the other day, and I was like, "Whoo, that's a." I mean, if there was ever, I'm usually a little bit, let's just say confident, but if there was ever a yes, dear moment for me, it was with that group of people.
Do you know what's funny about that? I don't think it's the confidence with you. It's the authenticity.
Well, I hope
Uh,
so. I mean, I
No,
don't
I
know
mean,
any other way to do it.
look, there's just with you, there's no bullshit. There really isn't. It's like it is what it is. And because of that, you've done something that is really interesting to me. It's not just about building a brand that people absolutely love, but it's building relationships and friendships. You have people out there that you engage with that will do absolutely anything for you at any time. That's different. That's special. You know, that doesn't happen every day.
You know, I would I'm going to take your word on that one because I still get asked a lot to do things for other people. But all kidding aside, Josh, I think there's a little bit of there's an element of truth to the way that there's an element of truth to what you said, but I think it's a little bit nuanced and more seated in the approach we take to the business, which um, has I think it has a heritage for me in the way that my career started and my upbringing. You know, it always goes back to your childhood. It's not just about your trauma. It might be also about the good things that happened to you. But I was raised in like a small business environment, and I witnessed um, kind of the intensity of the importance of little things to small entrepreneurs. You know, people not showing up for work one day becomes a big deal because they're scrambling. The accountant is sick and he can't run payroll. Like little stuff that larger organizations have backups for, have a dramatically larger effect on small businesses. And what I've kind of witnessed in design, which you're familiar with, are like these are like talented people, people like Fern and people like Jan and like Lauren that we talked about earlier, have success at different levels, but the people that are part of their organization, and those are small businesses too, um, evolve out of those businesses and start their own, and they're trying to kind of, you know, they're kind of trying to make their way. And I think if I've imparted anything on my team or on the brand, it's that your primary responsibility is to realize that you're not a product company, you're a design company that is a service to designers. And your primary objective is to understand the vision and what they're trying to accomplish and be accretive to that and service them with the least amount of friction. And when you do that, you're going to win. And you know, I think we're maybe just really good at it, Josh, but I almost just kind of take the product for I kind of take it for granted. We've done so much of it and we're really detailed and committed and we're very good at this, the things we do that I'm almost our approach is almost like we'll get to that later. Tell me about the project and what you need and what you want to accomplish and your vision and what can we do to be accretive. And it's almost like, and before that, when do you need it? August. Okay, now that's a good place to start. Let's work backwards and make sure we knock your socks off. Would you like to get at the end of July or at the end of June so you have a little comfort zone? Do you have storage? You're gonna pay storage fees. How are we dealing with all this? And they're like, wow, you're actually care about what we're trying to do because the designer is going to lean into the aesthetic and the solution and the visual. And we're more about, I'm okay with that. I'm a part of your play. I want to make sure that I've got everybody that is a part of our component of it available and ready to meet your need. And I think that's what's been the difference in how we approach the market and maybe that penetrated itself into the brand to a certain degree and left a mark.
You are listening to my conversation with the incomparable and amazing friend, Kyle Bunting. We'll be right back. If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you've heard me say this, that the most important word in the design industry is service. Product is important, price is important, selection is important, but stellar service is the premier idea that can make all the difference in the success of a project, any project. How design professionals like you demand great service and your favorite brands in one place with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commission sales professionals. It's really important. It means that their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that with over 60 years of experience in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, and inspiration. Now, you have the Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team to help you and offer their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you have experienced before. Earn 3% in Best Buy gift cards, e-gift cards, or 2.5% in rewards checks for every qualified and delivered sale. In addition to special trade pricing, exclusive offers, access to exclusive special events, and so much more than I could possibly tell you about here. And the cherry on top is access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands and the stellar service, again, from a company that has been serving the industry for over 60 years. Terms and conditions apply to the Pro Rewards program and builder trade incentives. So visit a Pacific Sales expert at a showroom today for full details and to learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights. The design industry is in the midst of a generational and fundamental change. If you're in the biz, you feel it. I know you do. We all do. Just about every aspect of the industry is growing, changing, and turning into something entirely different due to a number of factors that, not to go into here, but between tariffs and supply chain and political influence, just clients have changed. Pricing has changed. Everything about the industry has changed, except for one thing, the need for strong design and architecture communities. And that's what led to the creation of Shelter Republic, an online community exclusively for the design and architecture communities, a place to engage with other like-minded creatives outside of the prying eyes of clients and the media. Wouldn't you like to belong to a nurturing community where you can have those real challenging, authentic conversations, watch exclusive design focused content, take free courses to level up your design business, hear from experts in the industry, guiding you and helping you move ever forward. And it's free to join. No catch, but it's invitation only. This is not like maybe some other programs you've heard of before where you pay a fee, a sizable fee, and go through a quasi vetting process only to get there and realize that you're kind of just paying for an ad. That is not what this is. If you're a designer or an architect, you qualify. If you want in, email confobydesign@outlook.com and type Shelter Republic in the subject line. That's it. An invitation to join will follow. Call this the anti-social media platform where you can meet, engage, and share ideas in a safe, closed community environment of like-minded creatives. That's what this is. And like I said, it's free to join. Send an email, confobydesign@outlook.com. Subject line is Shelter Republic. It's that simple. And like I said, it's free to join. See you there. Everything's easy when times are good.
Mm.
And when things get complicated, that's when you find out who's really doing something special. And I'm curious, as complicated as things are right now in the business, and it's funny because I had said at one point,
But what do you
you know,
mean by complicated?
well, I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna set
Sure.
this up. I'm gonna set this up though by saying that in the
Mhm.
past I have said this isn't a political statement, because I've always thrown that out there because I don't want to offend anyone.
Sure.
And I think we've gotten to the point politically and policy wise where it's not so much about having a political conversation or having something that happens to be political, but policy, tariffs, trade partnerships and relationships, it's all interwoven. Society
Mhm.
is never a single silo anymore. Everything bleeds into everything else. For
Mhm.
example,
I don't
if
disagree.
if tariffs are affecting appliances the
Mhm.
way that they are, right? And the cost of appliances goes astronomical, then it's going to affect downstream budgeting for every other aspect of a project.
Mhm.
And I'm curious if you think that because you've paid in for as many years as you have and you've done business the way that you have over all this time, that you've earned credits with the professionals that you're working with. You make them in when times are good, you make them want to work with you because you're so easy to work with. And then when times are tough, you're still delivering because you have that philosophy. Does it
Mhm.
help? Does it help overcome the complications and the challenges that we've seen this year? And there have been no shortages of complications and challenges this year.
Yeah, this is a whole can of worms.
I know.
So, I think that you've touched on politics. You've touched on economic nuance related to importation and tariff. Uh, and you've kind of hit on the principle of what it's like to do business in these in times with dynamicism, right? Um, and Josh, I think, I was kind of thinking about your question as you were kind of, trying to explain what you were trying to get to. And it reminded me of something that kind of leans into what I said before. And I was lucky early in my career, back in my 20s, just last decade. But I had a mentor in one of my very first jobs. And one of the things he said something to me once that was kind of like one of those strange things that like dads say to sons, and you're kind of going, what does he mean by that? Like, and he would just say, parents tend to say something to kids and like leave the room, and the kids are like, what does that mean? They're all confused. And then a couple years later, at the dinner table, they go, hey, I figured it out. That's really cool. You know, and you're like, oh, who knew that they absorbed that? But I worked for a really great mentor early in my career, and one of the things he always said, because he was similarly service oriented, and he said, Kyle, if I can give you, I asked him once, I said, hey, Jim, can you give me one great piece of advice? Just the one thing that like, tell me what to take out of this experience working for you. I worked for him for about 3 years. And he said, never run a deficit in the favor bank. And and it stuck with me, and it kind of made me think about what you were saying before about like in good times and bad, and do you kind of have all this other stuff. Uh, I really try to iron that into the minds of the people that work here. And what you said earlier, I hope is true about the brand, but I know it's true about me. Uh, I've had opportunity a couple of times. I remember one was in Los Angeles a few months ago, and I asked one of my long-term clients, I said, can I ask you an awkward question? Because we've been friends for a really long time. I'm like, when I'm gone out of this, what do you think that people will say about like kind of what we did and what this business looked like? I'm just kind of curious. I mean, you establish something and you never really know. And he looked at me and he goes, I genuinely hope you'll really appreciate this, but I can tell you there's nobody like you. There's nobody like you in this game. And I said, what does that mean? He goes, as long as we've been working together, I just 100% know no matter what, whatever it takes, you personally or your whatever will never be upside down on you always being there for us. And and it was probably the single greatest compliment I've ever, and I wasn't looking for it. I was just kind of curious, but it's the single greatest compliment I've ever gotten by one of my clients. And I think this holds true into some of the avenues that you've leaned into. Um, we try to run our business that way, and I think that it's an analogy that sometimes every once in a while you kind of cash it in. I called somebody once. I said, "Hey, can I ask you kind of a favor on this, for something?" And they're like, "You? What do you want?" And I said, "Well, we're supposed to ship that stuff, in April. Can we ship it this month? My team's kind of trying to hit a goal, and we kind of want to get that stuff out, and we'll ship it at the end, and you'll get it in a couple weeks." And they're like, "Can you ship something a few weeks earlier?" They're like, "That's all you're asking for, and you're trying to help your team hit a number that you have to pay them more for?" I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's how we roll. And they're like, that's not really cashing in a favor, Kyle. That's just doing the right thing for the people that, you work with and you care about. And I think that matters, Josh. Um, but I think that, you're asking about, which I think is a really interesting question. Um, the design business is kind of a reflection of America in that we're dealing with a lot of really high-end clients and developers that are doing interesting things that are both, non-residential and at home. And 80% of America is a big old purple country, and we all know it. The progress doesn't sell papers. As a media guy, this old axiom. I started in advertising and television, so I get it too. So the noise is, I don't want to say it's a fringe because it's a part of. There are expressions of things people feel, just maybe not as passionately, but America is a big old purple soup, and so we glide around in the middle, and we may feel this way about this and this way about that. But we kind of stay in there, and that's not just to keep the peace and try to stay out of having an opinion, but I think it's just genuinely relating to our clients and where most people are is kind of how we look at it. Um, and I think that, when you're there, I think the tariff thing was really interesting. In design, it was, um, I saw it as, I spoke to this the other day, but with someone else, but I saw it as kind of a reflection of the the best and the worst in us, right? In an economic sense, for a lot of people, it was a surcharge on goods, but the tax reform that ran through, if you played the numbers the right way, had a lot more in your pocket, certainly enough to cover some of what you might be feeling at the diner or the pump. Other people that were importers that, tried to sell a $300 chair they were buying in Vietnam for $100, they were getting hammered, right? It's a $200 chair, no doubt about it. There were other people that were vertically integrated with little or no impact. And I saw them raise prices and take advantage of the situation. And they showed the worst part of America. Um, Not to toot my own horn, because I really mean it that way. Um, but we were faced with obviously challenges related to the macroeconomic changes. And my personality style, when something challenging comes up, I'm like, sharpen the steel. Let's get better. It's just, let's double down. Um, and it was ironically, we had launched our new wool and silk line in May of last year, and then boom, April, you know, Freedom Day or Tariff Day or whatever it was called, hit us, and we were all of a sudden had launched a brand new product line with a 20% discounted incentive for the first year to encourage people to try out our new business. And the economic formula changed overnight, and immediately, um, I got together with my team. I'm like, no change. We're going to ride it out. In fact, we're going to ride it even harder and double down and go balls to the wall, so to speak. And we had about 75% higher sales and volume for the new product introduction than we had anticipated. And we actually covered it kind of elegantly, and turned it into a win. And I was like, just try harder. And I don't know that there's a way to measure that we maybe grabbed, market share, but we had a lot of designers going, really? And I'm like, yeah, we're in. We mean it. We're here to help you in your business. And I think in this situation, we want to be accretive to trying what you're doing, because I think it matters. And even along the way, we were like, look, if we don't win the order, I don't care. What I care about is having the experience of designing something with you that you believe would be amazing in your work. And if for whatever reason something changes, whether it's budget or client perspective, or they get divorced, or all the crazy stuff that happens in this business, I'll take that one-on-one experience of creating something beautiful with a new designer or somebody we've already worked with as a win, and we just get better every day. And I think it's all in how you look at it. And
Well, and see,
it was
and by
it
the way,
was it was
see,
great for us. Honestly, it was almost like one of the best things that could have ever happened to us, because it put us in a position to get better at our business, Josh.
well, see, and it's funny because when we first started this conversation, and I don't have the exact quote. I'll have to go back and listen. When you said there's an expectation for the regular platitudes that you always get from me on this show. It, it's no platitude. It is a it goes back to the idea of authenticity. And I bring it up especially because right now, how you mentioned um, that there are some people who take advantage of certain situations.
Can I
There,
say something about that? You remember all
yeah,
those corny emails you started getting back in April and May? They were like these kind of passive aggressive, like, well, because of, well, we have to raise our prices. And the funny thing is, we've been out in the field having people thank us for what we did, and they're like, we kind of haven't gotten that email that says we're lowering the price now that the tariff may have changed in their situation. And I think that says a lot about a lot. actually.
Well, it does. It does. And what it also says, we're at an interesting place right now. So
Mhm.
from a cost standpoint, which the reason cost matters is we're in a desire industry, and
Mhm.
cost matters because just
100%.
because the cost of goods goes up doesn't mean budgets go up. It has to
That's
be
right.
it's up to the creativity and talent of a designer to kind of figure out based on what the client wants, how we're going to do this and where we're going to do it. But also the level of dupes and the theft culture
Yeah.
that has grown in popularity over the last, I want to say in earnest, I think the pandemic had a lot to do with it when there was a huge buying spree and people couldn't get things. And then there were others who would come up with inauthentic materials and say, okay, well, we've got it. And so people would buy it, which led to it almost being tacitly accepted.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But there is something about authenticity and the people that you can rely on when things get difficult, which is what kind of what we're talking about here. And so I appreciate the honesty and the answer. I totally agree with you, which shifts us to a I don't want to call it a wholesale transition for you, but it almost is. I mean, you have opened up. It was Hyde. That was the story.
Yeah.
But you have opened the door to all of these new avenues. I'm glad you did. Why do you think? I want you to tell me about the collection, the new materials, and why it took so long. Why do you think it took so long to sort of not that it's a positive or negative, but why did it take as long as it did? Why was this the right time to embrace new materiality?
You know, I think that you kind of brought up a couple things I'd like to maybe hit on a little bit before
And by the
going
way, I
there.
hate doing that. I hate that I can't ask just one question at a time. I apologize.
No, I look, this is that's why it's called a conversation, right? Bounces all over the place. But I want to hit on a couple of things because I'm trying to get better at not interrupting people. It's part of my it's part of like the idea machine up here, like, wait, Josh, wait, hold on. What about this? And they're like, hey Kyle, we can't get to the 40 things you gave me last week. Can we can you turn it back down? I'm trying to get better. Not interrupting, not talking too much, and maybe putting my ideas into like a place. That's part of the problem. I got 40 people here now, so I'm like, oh, there's all these people. They can go do these crazy things I want to do, which is kind of fun. But I think you said something that I want to kind of lean into, which I think is really interesting. And you said something about dupes as like an inference point to kind of like budgets and design challenges. I think a lot of that comes from social media, but I think what's also kind of happened is like more and more people got access to compelling content to see and experience what I feel are the artists that we get to work with, that we call designers. They're artists. And they saw more and more things, and so they were more and more compelled to have that experience. I mean, I think we're in this golden age of design. um, Unfortunately, they would also see like celebrities on television and go, "Wow, they're amazing! Look at that!" And then they'd go, "Oh God, that's a $7,000 handbag. I want to look like that, but I can't afford to look like that." And I think it kind of came home where design got more prolific and people got more interested in it and saw more of it. And so they just desired it more, which is good for us. But it led to them going, I've got to have that look. But I didn't know that look. I didn't know that room was going to be $250,000 because that painting I thought is really interesting is actually an original and it's like, $4 million. Like who knew, right? These are the weird things that happen in this business. But you know, the core thing you're asking me kind of relates a little bit to the whole goulash of this conversation we're having, which is, why now, right? Um, were you bored? Financial incentive, business plan, um, you know, somebody tried to buy your business and they had that kind of a company And so why would you have that? I get to 1,001 different things. Um, and the answer is that we've done two things in the last 24 to 36 months that have the same core motivation that was completely um, and utterly um, um, what do you want to call it, Josh? Unknown at the time. It was subconscious. The business that you knew 2 or 3 years ago, Kyle Bunting, the high-end decorative residential Hyde brand, is now a multifaceted business that does hide, wool, silk, synthetic. We do wall coverings, we do art, we do high-end decorative carpets, and we do them for about 60% is high-end residential, and the other is non-residential, which is a lot of retail, hospitality, and workplace and club. And so the business is now it kind of happened overnight. It's like a completely different animal than it was before. We're a diversified entity serving different segments of the market with a variety of interesting products. And so when you ask about where did wool and silk come from, this new thing, which by the way, internally the joke was, congratulations, it's your first new product launch in 23 years, Kyle. Good for you. And they're like, you're doing something new. But I think when I said it came from the subconscious, Josh, it really did. It was an idea that evolved that I started playing around with, and then I came up with like our take on it and put it together, and we decided to put it out. And it wasn't until sometime last fall that I'll never forget, I was in Chicago and I was meeting with some clients, and somebody asked me why I did this. And they go, you just seem to love what you do so much. Why did you decide to do this? And all of a sudden it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, I didn't know it at the time, but I just got into these new areas because it allowed me to do more of what I love to do the most, which is work with designers. And I did not go into it thinking, hey, this will be a good business to be in. This will be economically viable. It's a creative outlet. It just something that happened, and I had no idea why it was motivating me. I just did it. And next thing you knew, it was really it kind of it really did. It became really clear to me that having more products and more segments was driving me creatively and giving me more opportunity to meet more new people and do more of what we really love, which is help designers realize, you know, the artistic vision of their work and be a part of it. And that's what drives the business and drives me personally more than anything else I do here.
Did it also help motivate you? I'm trying to put myself in your position. Working with a specific working with Hyde for 23 years. Hyde is great, and you have not a platitude, you have become a master of working in that medium the same way that someone would work in oil, or acrylic or painting like a fine artist. You can look at, and I remember this from our conversation with Tim Corrigan,
Mhm.
how looking at Hyde and looking at the direction of the Hyde and being able to take that direction and work that artistically into a piece so it creatively has a shimmer and a vision based on how it's pieced together. At the same time, you were still limited by height constraints or leveling or certain material constraints that you had with that material. Now you look at something like the wool or the nylon that you can pile, that you can actually give it
Sure.
a third dimension to. How did that affect you creatively? Did it just open new doors? And the only thing I personally, the only thing I can really compare this to is as a woodworker. If I'm working in oak, white oak, right?
Mm.
And sometimes it'll fight with me. And sometimes I'll fight with that a little bit. Then I'll get
Sure.
then I'll get a piece of Eastern
Yeah.
red cedar. And the
Sure.
color the purples, the reds, and
Yeah.
I can carve through it like butter and I can do different things with it. Do you feel the same way now that you have different materials to work with? Does it change the way you think about it artistically and creatively?
Um, y- you know, it does. There's a certain point of view we had on introducing this new product that I think is I'll come back to. But you said something in there about like you're kind of inferring the creative inspiration. And I was like, yeah, it allowed me to spend more time with more other interesting people and meet new designers that did other types of work that was like invigorating and exciting and like it just kind of expanded. It was like all of a sudden, like when you realize like you're making tacos and it's like, hey, the whole world likes your tacos and now you got taco shops everywhere. You're not just sitting there in the food truck servicing the same 80 people that come every weekend to buy your tacos. You're all of a sudden like, you're like running around the world, you're selling tacos to everybody. You're having a great time. But I do think that something interesting happened. I mean, to get a little technical on the design side, I when we started really, when I decided I really was going to do this and I thought this was going to be interesting, the biggest question for me was like, what's going to be my take? Like, how do we do something like that and have it look like Kyle Bunting, a brand that was synonymous and is synonymous with Hyde? Because, hey, Josh, no platitudes needed. Make no mistake, in the octagon of Hyde, two men enter, one will emerge. And I take that very seriously. I know what we created and I know where this birthed. And I'm passionate about that. The joke in the office is kind of like, they're like, Kyle. And I'm like, what? They're like, over here. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, Hyde. And Hyde says, I know silk's really beautiful, but stop. And I'm like, okay, I'm home, baby. We kind of have this little analogy going on with, the straying eye, so to speak. But I think that, Josh, it was really a beautiful experience because, some people know this, you may not know this, but my first carpet experience was I ordered and designed a carpet from Christopher Farr. It's right up my alley. It kind of had like a Rothko vibe, and it was like this English guy and the brand. In a lot of ways, I modeled my own brand after some of Chris's business and his aesthetic. And then my first real tufted brand experience that turned me on was with Edward Fields. Jim Kaplan that ran Taiping for decades was a real close friend and what they were doing and when they acquired Edward Fields and they did Kogalon, et cetera. I just thought it was a really interesting brand. And I was just kind of turned on by the product work. And I never really thought much about it. I just was enamored with them. I thought they were just really cool brands in the business. And what I came to find when I tried to dive into what we were doing is um, I bought a robotic tufting machine. Um, it's like I could have bought a Ferrari, instead I bought a tufting machine, right? I mean, I couldn't have bought a Ferrari. I mean, the bank lent me the money to buy a tufting machine, and then we paid the bank back, right? Uh, but I started experimenting with robotic tufting because it lent itself very logically to what we did. We design things digitally, we use machines to cut it, and then we manufacture it by hand. And so it was kind of like, well, can we design it and then tuft it and have a robot, make all this work? We came to find that there were some limitations. What I wanted to do creatively was really hard on the robot. She and I we're still friends. Um, and she's in the R&D facility doing some other cool stuff, but we're cool. But what I learned along the way was like if our brand was going to have a take on being in this new product line, what was it about what we did that needed to be um, elegant? And in looking at the design portfolio, which was really kind of fascinating, we had decades and decades of work, and we knew people were going to go, hey, that design there, can you do it in this? It was really the design work we had created with like thousands of people over the decades was the principal component of what we were going to leverage to do something different. It would have been illogical if I started selling sisal. I'd been like, there's just no leaning into. So we first did a palette. We took our 150 colors in Hyde, and we made a palette that was of the same spectrum in wool and silk. And then we took the designs and we realized that we had to do some things with subtle elevation changes so we could honor the lack of negative space and with carving techniques of our seamed work. So it kind of looked like the designs had been intended for. But the fun part was really blending wool and silk and having elevation changes that would mimic the long hair and the short hair that come with naturally with summer, with winter and summer hides that are kind of a part of the process of doing the craziness of of what we've done now. Josh, almost 2 million square feet in hide over the past 24 years. So, I'm very proud of what happened, and it wasn't really intentional, but in the end, it was like it's got to look like us, and these are the variables that allowed you to look at a Kyle Bunting wool carpet, a tufted carpet, or and a hide carpet, and feel like they belong together, that they were from the same family, and I think we did a good job at that, and we've I don't know, maybe brought something a little bit different to design where they can make a choice between three different materials or four or five, wool, silk, nylon, synthetic, hide. If you like the design, we can make it for any environment and any client because like, some clients aren't into what we do in hide.
I think
I'm
I
not
think
even into every room in the house being in hide. It's just it's too strong. Like it's overwhelming. Like it's special. It's kind of like the trophy in the room. When you do it right, you're like, what is that? That's unbelievable. So having a little of that and a lot of wool, which can be much more demure and expected, it's kind of a nice design fit, and that's why I think we've been successful with it.
it's interesting too to me because oftentimes, and I think I may have asked you this years ago, but
Mhm.
when I ask you about the creative side and the artistry and the artistic side of things, you are very quick and very deferential to the designers and working with the designers. And
Oh yeah.
I'm curious, and I think this came up last time when I might have asked you if you consider yourself to be an artist or a craftsman. And I think that you said you were a craftsman. You seem to want to back away from the artistry side of it insofar as being deferential. Is it because you want to allow the designers who are creatives to take that role of the artistic ownership of the product because that's where the greatest talent lies, or because that's part of the capabilities that Kyle Bunting offers is the ability to allow designers. Like I want to talk to you in particular about this Fern Santini wall piece, which I think is just absolutely extraordinary. It's on your website. It's the tree,
Mhm.
just extraordinary. And it's
Mhm.
so meaningful and purposeful that allowing the designers to be the creatives is more important than taking on the creative role at Kyle Bunting.
Yeah, I think for us, um, we're in a very comfortable place to accept and excel at being accretive to the artist process, right? I want to be someone that when the designers finish with their job and if they had to write, an introduction, kind of like you do on a book, you're that line where they go, "Oh yeah, and I almost forgot." It's like those Academy Award speeches where at the end they go, "Oh wait, oh sorry, I almost forgot so and so. Thank you so much. I could have never done this without you." I think we kind of want to be that in the theater of this artist's work. So yeah, I am differential because we're only as strong as the projects that we're, embraced to be a part of. But, Josh, I think, you know how sometimes that people say that, some people are like a mile wide and a puddle deep. Um, uh, for me personally, I'm okay with this. It's a little Socratic maybe, but I think I'm like maybe a half a mile wide and kind of deep. My greatest strength is I've got a lot of different talents in a lot of different ways that tend to be really good about being supportive of and like figuring out how to apply what we've learned about what we do to someone's work. And I think that comes with genuine care. And I think and having a lot of heart and also listening and asking questions and experience, right? If you and also humility. The new, our design development people, which are really a kind of a lovely descriptor for our sellers. I tell them your number one thing is to understand the nature of the project and what the designer is trying to accomplish. And if you figure that out, I'm less concerned with, close rates and revenue and goal hitting than I am. They really understand the person's business and find as many opportunities as possible for us to be involved with designers and help them in their projects. That's the name of the game. And I think when we do that and we do it well, we win and our designers win and the relationship's established and we get to do, really beautiful things and be part of a wonderful culture. Because I've said it to you about 3 or 4 times today, and I keep saying it again. Uh, I- we're I kind of think designers like the lost art tribe of Israel. You know, they're not the Irish, it's the designers. Like we found them. And all the musicians and the musicians and the actors and the painters all go give them a big hug and be like, welcome back to the family. But this is a difficult thing to do. And the stuff you touched on today about creative, logistics, financial concerns, you got spouses fighting over paper, toilet paper holders. I mean, you got like the whole crazy thing coming together in that environment where they're really trying to create something special is a tip of the hat. If we can do something to make that easier, God bless us, because I think what they do is very, very difficult.
Last thing I wanted to ask you about is, I mean, it's not the last thing, but time
Sure.
is a thing that I can't get away from.
Mhm.
But one of the things that you have always said since we've known each other is really this deference to the creative, and this celebration of the designer. I wanted your thoughts on, I think what's really interesting is every time there's a blip, there's a societal blip, there is a new class, a massive new class of creatives. So
Mhm.
during the financial crisis, there was a huge new onslaught of designers coming into the industry.
Right.
With the pandemic,
Mhm.
there was a huge onslaught rather of new creatives coming into
Yeah.
the industry. Those
Yeah.
creatives are now entering
Mhm.
the 3 to 5 year window
Yep.
in the industry. And that 3 to 5 year, it's so critical because
Yeah.
they're starting to get better clients. They've given up Aunt Vicky because now they've got real clients that are doing real projects,
Yeah.
and they're making a little bit of money and they're up leveling their client base and they're starting to learn more. At the same time, the industry really doesn't embrace that that cohort. The industry's never really embraced. You have the AD 100 and the El Decor A list, and they're all great. They're all great. They're all important. To celebrate the accomplished is fantastic. But
Josh, I would say accomplished is a nice word to describe that.
thank
Well
you.
done. The
Thank you.
accomplished. Well done. Can I steal that? Do I have to credit you?
No, you can have that.
Okay. Hold on. Hold on. I haven't made any notes yet during this call. The accomplished. Wow.
I love when you mess with me. It's just
Smart
great.
guys, man.
It's
Hey,
just so
I'm
great.
stealing it from you. So anyway, the accomplished. Please continue. I had to stop you on that one. That was a
The
good
the point was
one.
that the future to any brand, the future to any product
Yeah.
or company,
Mhm.
it revolves around embracing new talent. How, as a company, how do you think about that? How do you engage with newer designers, a new designer who maybe has never yet done a custom piece of this level because they've never had the client that could afford to sponsor it, that could afford to specify it. How do you approach new designers and bring that new blood into into the world of Kyle Bunting?
I think I don't know that there's a particular um, you know, technique or rule or way that maybe a new designer that isn't the accomplished, right? To approach and develop a relationship with them than there is the accomplished. I know for me and for our brand, of course, someone that is had a successful career, like you mentioned Tim earlier, that you've worked with a lot and is a different dialogue and a different conversation than somebody that you haven't met before. Let's don't not let's don't dodge the question, so to speak, and not take what you're asking head on as a point, with a take on it. But I think the same thing I would say to Tim that I would say to someone who's just starting their business or someone that's in that third or fifth year or the 10th or 20th year, whatever they're doing, is, kind of follows, I think, um, a really beautiful point of view that is something we're leaning into. It's a tagline we use. It's kind of part of some things we try to impart on the people we get to work with in this business. And I think it's best summarized by this idea of design and the family you choose. And and I think it's cliche to go, oh, it's like a lifestyle business. It is a lifestyle business. And if your lifestyle doesn't have room for this business, you shouldn't be in it. If you're not interested in having a deep and meaningful relationship with the companies that provide you the solutions to your work and being candid with them about your needs and your budgets and your timelines and what you're trying to accomplish to make it a win for both parties and to like solve problems, you're missing a real opportunity to have less challenge in your career and in your business and less elegant work. Um, I'll give you a good example, and my financial people and my partners are probably going to kill me for saying this, especially on something like your podcast that maybe some people will listen to. But we have this kind of interesting thing that has evolved, and I think it's because of the way we've treated people that the thing that happened to me in the last year, Josh, if you said, hey, since you launched this new product line, what's been the one thing that kind of jumped out and surprised you? And it was how many people said, hey, can I send you my plans and can you give me some ideas? And they literally highlighted like 20 rooms where they needed rugs. And I was like, oh my God, is this why Stark and all these other guys are so successful? Is that how they sell like these other rooms? The Hyde guys, like the little special thing in the corner that is, I'm like, well, this is a kind of a new thing. This is amazing. But, um, but in seeing that, we would go through things and we would like come back and go, hey, here's a bunch of great ideas. And what we learned along the way was we were basically doing this. We were like, look, here's everything in there, but we do an interesting thing called need time pricing. And dependent upon when you need it or what you're doing, and I'm the manufacturer, I can turn a lot of dials, right? I think we just got shut down, kiddo.
What do you mean?
I can't see you.
Oh no.
Sorry, let me continue. Yeah, my screen just flipped out. Anyway, but we can turn a lot of dials, right, to ingratiate the project and the dynamics. If somebody needs something next week, I don't have a lot of flexibility. If you don't need it until October, because we're taping this in April,
Yeah.
I've got some latitude. If you can pay early, or if you're looking at olive, but you can use sage because you got flexibility on the green, I can do a lot of things. And so we started putting things out there and saying, hey, this is $175,000 worth of work at the normal net. Just look at it and give me your green light number if it doesn't work, and we'll see if we can move a few things to help you and us be successful in it. And I was really shocked at how many people came back and were like, hey, if you can get that to 150, it's green lights all day long, and I can go meet with my client and encourage them to say yes to all these beautiful things you've designed for us. And I would go back and go, give me a week. And I would go work with what I do in my supply chain and my partners to find a better way to solve the client and the designer's problem. And go back and go, if you buy that one now, that one later, pay for that one, change this, change that, we can meet the number. And I said, and I'm going to trust you that you're going to be honest with me because next time you might be great budget, the numbers are fine. We'll go meet with the client and I'll let you know in a couple of weeks or whatever the timeline is. But we found that we weren't negotiating on everything. We were just coming in and saying, you're using more of our work. Sometimes there's a little bit of ebb and flow, but just be honest with me because we're family. When the niece you want to have at Thanksgiving calls and just says, "Hey, Josh, I'm just being honest, Uncle. I'm a little tight. I had a problem." Like, I'm going to send you a ticket. If she does that every year, she's just using you, and then you stop inviting her because she's not who you thought she was, and you don't want her around. But if she's a little hard up one year, you're like, hey, let me bring you down here. We want to see you. And I think it's a little bit about realizing part of this community and part of this lifestyle, there's a family component to it. And if you treat it like that, it'll pay you back in spades and you'll have a long and healthy career and you'll be able to forgive Kyle for what he says when he hosts a big dinner and he might get a little irreverent, but at the same time, you realize it's coming from one place, which is a real big one of these that wants nothing more to see you be successful and have a beautiful relationship with you. And hopefully we can all do that together and treat each other the right way.
And by the way, I love that. The question was about in not indoctrinating, but bringing in and embracing this new designer class into the industry and helping them grow into good partners. And that is a masterclass. That is exactly how you do it. You treat them as you want to be treated,
Sure.
and you put yourself out there every chance you get. And hopefully, these new designers, the pandemic era design class,
Yeah.
will learn from that. And in 10 years, when they're the accomplished, they will have this partnership mindset, and that's what you get, and that's how you make the industry better than it was when you got there. And Kyle, that's exactly what you've done, which is why I love having these conversations. Thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. And I mean it's the asterisks on it. It's the T crossing, the dot on the I. It's really it's the icing on the cake is that if young designers and frankly all of us from we're in this together and the art form when it grows, it floats all boats up. And if we all work in a collaborative way to help one another realize the hard things that are there to accomplish, great things happen for all of us, and we all benefit. And I think that's it also happens to be a place where you can you know your conscience is a little more clear. Karma's a little better for you. Your head goes on the pillow with a little more ease at night, and you're not looking over your shoulder wondering who might be at that event. You're in a transparent, lovely place, and you're in the purple zone that we alluded to earlier, where really, I mean, we're all in this together, and let's make it accretive and positive and and go change the world in our own little way, and we'll lift the tide for sure.
I love that. And the takeaway from that is if you don't screw people over, you don't have to worry about running into them at the next industry event.
I mean, I guess that's the takeaway, but I don't like, it's funny, like it's really, it's kind of a sweet exchange. People
Yeah.
will call us all the time and they're like, hey, we're going to meet with a client on Friday, and could you just overnight us a couple of samples of that pattern and some memos? And I'm like, um, yeah, of course. And I'm like, but what are you trying to do? And they're like, well, we want bloom in olive um and in swamp, two of our colors. And I'm like, well, why didn't you just ask for bloom and olive and swamp? They're like, oh, I didn't want to be any trouble. And I'm like, no, trouble's what we do. Because if you'll tell me exactly what you want, and you'll take long enough to put a little bit of, what do I really want to show the client that I think will be amazing? You shorten the cycle. We make a strike off and we comp it and we overnight it to you and you go, this is what I want to do. And the client goes, yes. Or they go, no, I don't want that guy in my house. Either way, you were better. You were more thoughtful. And it's a really sweet thing. Like the designer's trying to be courteous to us. And I'm like, time out. Tell me what you want. Take advantage of me. Let me serve you. It's like when you go, oh, I'm so sorry. Could I have like a little more butter? And the host is like, don't ever say that. It's my job. You're in my house. Or the waiter, no, I'm hooking you up. That's my job. You know what I mean? Let me go do my thing. And you're like, everybody's like, I love that guy. It's like the one that rolls their eyes at you and like, oh, back to the kitchen I go to get you more butter because you just asked for jam and you forgot you wanted syrup and your pancakes. It's just not quite enough for you. Everybody hates that guy. Everybody loves the guy that goes, I don't blame you. A little butter would be great on those. I'll be right back. Like, be that guy. What's wrong with people? You're listening to
Exactly.
this, snap out of it. Stop being such an
Exactly.
asshole. Help everybody out. Come on. What's wrong with you?
I love
Show up
that.
every once in a while.
Right?
Come on. What's wrong
Right?
with you? This is great. What a pleasure. I keep telling my sellers, I'm like, here's the deal. You're working for Scorsese and you're like the sound guy. If Marty calls and says you get to do the sound on my movie, you like jump on the next plane and you're to New York or wherever he's at, and you're like, how can I help? And guess what? Every once in a while, they're gonna invite you around when they're editing, and you're gonna go, hey, I was kind of thinking, Mr. Scorsese, call me Marty. Uh, what about the sound of shovels and lawn equipment falling off in a garage and making that clanky noise that everybody knows it sounds like whenever they're running through chasing each other? Be like an interesting noise, like you know where that happened, but something happened. Oh, I love that idea. Put it in there. And you're like, that was my idea.
Look what I just did.
Look what I just added. You're going to have a chance, and then and in this business, you're going to you're going to the theater and hear it. But in this business, you're going to look in the magazine, and you go, you see that chair? I recommended that color on that upholstery, and they used it, and it's amazing. Like, I love that. And you're like, I had a little part of it, but make no mistake, it's the designer's vision. And the designer is usually, you mentioned Fern, she's the best at it. The designer is really quick to go, don't you love that? We were looking at it and it was Kyle's idea and he said, we got to do this, which kind of leads into your question, maybe about about that, crazy ceiling we did with her.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Kyle, you never disappoint. And I'm thrilled that you made the time today. Congratulations on the new line. I hope it is immensely
Thank you.
successful. I have no doubt that it absolutely will be. And I appreciate you, man. I do.
You're a sweetheart. I love you, man. My crazy uncle Josh in Tulsa. Um, you're welcome at my Thanksgiving any year, as long as I get an invite to your Seder.
You got it, man.
You
Next
got
year,
a
I'm going to
deal?
actually do one.
All right, fantastic. Hey, I love it. Have a great time. Thanks for having me on, everybody. Treat people the right way and do the right thing out there and make beautiful stuff. We're proud of you.
Kyle, thank you. As always, per usual, loved our chat. and I look forward to the next one. Kyle, seriously, thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts and ideas. Thank you to my incredible partner sponsors, Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, Timber Tech, James Hardy, the Best Buy Company, and Shelter Republic. Their sponsorship of Convo by Design allows me to seek out sublime design stories from beyond the work itself and showcase unique personalities, changing new ideas and the way, rather chasing new ideas and changing the way we think about design and architecture, and then present it to you. So please give them an opportunity on your next project. Thank you for listening and sharing this journey of ours. 2026 marks 13 years of constant and consistent publication of the podcast with over 700 interviews, thousands of guests. And I couldn't do it without you, wouldn't want to. So please continue sending me emails, convobydesign@outlook.com, with show ideas, location ideas, and guest suggestions. You can also reach out on Instagram at convobydesign with an X. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, be well, stay focused and driven so you can rise above the chaos.